Okay, brilliant. So, firstly, just welcome everyone here. We have schools here who have just registered and they're in their first year. So they've just started out, just registered, and just this is probably your first time hearing anything about the seven steps that go along with the litter and waste theme. And also we have schools here who are in their second year and who will probably be hoping to submit their application form this year. So hopefully this will act more like kind of like a checklist for you guys, and you can just go through everything you've been working on over the past 2 years. So great. Okay, so our agenda for today is I'm going to go through the seven steps, just do a quick overview of those. We're going to go through the application process, challenges and solutions that come along with the theme, and a little Q&A at the end, just for us to go through all the different questions you might have that have come up over the past while. So, with Anhashka, like Joanne was saying at the start, we work with loads of really great programs. So, some of the ones that really apply to the litter and waste theme are National Spring Clean, who I will hopefully talk a wee bit more about later on. Neat Streets, which is more geared towards secondary schools. So, just in case there are any secondary school teachers here today, just so you know about those. Young Reporters for the Environment as well. And like Joanne said, Globe is also a really fantastic program. So these are just ones to kind of keep an eye out for, especially Climate Ambassador as well. So I'm going to hopefully go on a wee bit more about them in a bit. Okay, so our partnerships. So obviously we work with schools, we work with government bodies for our funding, but we also work with our local authorities who are super important. So these are our environmental awareness officers. Our environmental awareness officers are essentially the lads who come out and do the assessment visits in your school when you come to the end of your 2 years. So they're kind of like your advocate really. So they know where they're on the ground. They know everything about the local county. They're going to be the ones that you're in contact with. They're kind of like an extensions of us in Green School. So they're really important for you to know. So you're going to be able to have an opportunity to chat to them after this. So that'd be a really great opportunity for you to like know who they are and maybe make that first contact. Your EAOs are also a really fantastic resource if you ever want a talk in your school or a motivational chat to kind of get your committee on board. That's probably the person that's your best asking to do that. We have Cork County are running workshops very soon. They're open for litter waste schools and global citizenship litter and waste schools. There are very limited spaces at the moment, but it is open to all primary schools. It's in school as well, which is great. So if you want something like this, please do let me know. All the slides will be sent to you later on, and all the links are interactive as well. So if it's something you're interested in, sign up to the Google Forms there and let us know. And the QR code is there as well. Great. Okay, so whenever we're looking at the litter and waste theme, there are some really useful resources that I highly, highly, highly recommend. So MyWaste.ie keeps up with international standards in recycling. They have a search engine on their website which allows you to search an item and it will directly show you what bin it's supposed to go into. So you could look up something like egg cartons, or you could look up something like, I don't know, something easy like paper or whatever it is. It will direct you to the green bin and it will tell you all the ways, the necessary steps that your recyclables needs to be dry, loose, and clean. So it gives you loads of tips for that. It also is like has some really, really brilliant posters on it that I highly recommend that you have a look for. You can personalize them if you want to with your school's crest, if that's something you're interested in. It's a really fabulous resource and it gives really, really clear, obvious information that is necessary whenever if you don't know what bin everything goes into. It has pictures, really easy to follow steps, and also it has on their website they have a lot of teacher resources as well, which I highly recommend having a look at. Then we have some other resources. We have ClosePod, who we work really closely with. ClosePod has some really fantastic information on their website that I highly recommend you have a look at. Their stuff on their website could easily inspire an action day where you do things like a clothes swap or a clothes drive. The basic initiative of ClosePod is that they want to prevent unused clothes going to landfill, which is like a huge emitter to waste globally. So by having like these kind of days for around ClosePod, it could be a great way to bring up these conversations around clothes waste. We also have We Ireland as well. So we campaign to reduce electrical waste. Their website has a lot of resources surrounding domestic products, which could be things from like laptops to computers or to keypads, anything like this, stuff that you don't really know where they go once they've come to the end of their life, and you know that they shouldn't go into the black bin. So their battery boxes are kind of commonplace now in primary schools and secondary schools around the country. If you don't have one in your school, I highly recommend you follow the link. I think Rishva's going to send it into the chat now. They're a really fantastic scheme. It's kind of like a return scheme, except you don't get 15 cents back for every battery you put into the box, unfortunately. It essentially just promotes you not putting batteries into the black bin anymore because that's not where they belong. They can't go into landfill. And they certainly aren't breaking down anytime soon. They can be really dangerous. So whenever we return them to these special kind of industrial places, so they can burn down the aluminium and reuse them again and make a second life for them. So yeah, so these really useful companies that we work alongside with are really useful for and really handy for you to get involved with the litter and waste team. So, with the Green Schools process, there's certain phases and milestones you have to meet before you can get your green flag. So, firstly, you register on submit.com, and I assume most of you guys already have. If not, you're a bit on the fence about joining Green Schools. You follow submit.com, and from there you can upload all of your information, and that means that you become part of our system. And that means we can send you out lots of really important information through our mail outs, and your informations are on our records, so we can always keep account of what flag you guys are on. Once you've registered, you will begin to implement the 7 steps of the litter and waste program in your school. In your school, second year on the flag, you will submit your application form, which you will also find on submit.com. We at Green Schools will then assess your application form, and then if you're successful, you will be invited to our awards in May, which is a really, really lovely day for you and your committee to come to. So, like Joanne was saying there at the start, the application deadline for all litter and waste schools who are in their second year is the 3rd of December 2024. So that's if this is your school's first time ever on the program and you've no history of being on Green Schools before. If you had been a renewal school, we're doing them all on the same deadline. So this will be the first time we've done this. So if this comes as a big surprise to your school, please let me know and we'll try accommodate that to your school and what you've done already. But if you're in your second year and you're hoping to submit your application form, I can't wait to read your application on the 3rd of December. Super. Okay, so in previous years, Litter and Waste has been a really successful team because it's the first team. It's like a touchstone for all the other ones. It's kind of like the backbone of all the other ones. There's a reason why it's at the start because it's key to all the other teams. Last year, 96 schools were awarded the Litter and Waste flag. 63% of schools had reduced their general waste, which is really, really impressive, especially in a school setting. 50% of schools carried out a community cleanup, and 53% of schools campaigned for waste segregation, waste-free lunches, and climate action. And those things about waste-free lunches is really topical at the moment, especially in primary schools, which we've tried to make resources about. So if you have any questions on that, please do share them at the end. So I get asked all of the time, what is the difference between litter and waste? If there is any difference, but I promise you there is. So litter is any item that has been lost or discarded on purpose in our environment. So you'll find these things in our schools, our streets, and in our parks. So they're often man-made, such as sweet wrappers, domestic appliances, waste from industries, and food. It's a visible problem and pollution, and it can pollute our environment and can cause harm to wildlife. So these are things basically that we're throwing away. It's a man-made problems. Whenever we have stuff, we just throw it on the ground. We find them in parks, we find them on our beaches, people leaving stuff behind on picnics. It's just stuff that we're leaving behind and we're displacing and we're not putting them where we know they should go, which is the bin. So that's what litter is. But waste, on the other hand, it's what we make whenever we've too much of something. So it's like an excessive amount of stuff. We cannot eat the containers that our food becomes in, so then it becomes waste. We can't wear the shoes once they have the holes in them, and if we can't replace them, then they become waste again. And if we don't eat all the food on our plate, it becomes waste. So again, we just have this excessive amount of stuff. And this is really hard, especially in schools and in all workplaces across the country. It's the same problem that we're having, where you feel like you need to buy more and more stuff. Maybe it's really cheap to buy it in bulk, or you think, geez, we should buy more of this stuff if it's so cheap. And then you wind up having a lot of things in your school. It could be too much paper, it could be too much plastic, something, Polly Pockets, all this kind of accumulation of stuff that you think you're going to need and you don't really. So that would be the difference between litter and waste. So whenever we're implementing the program, we do it through 7 steps. So firstly, we have the Green Skills Committee. So if you're in your first year and this is you just starting out for the first time, you'll probably be beginning on your committee at the moment, and I'll have lots of tips for that now in a second. Then you have your environmental review, which is really important. Again, it kind of gives you an evaluation of what needs to be done in your school. And then you have your action plan. So these are the first 3 steps that you'd be wanting to get done in year one. And maybe before the midterm after Christmas, you want to kind of get those all kind of put in place. The next 4 steps can kind of be done whenever. So we have monitoring and evaluation, we have our curriculum work, we have informing and involving, and we have our green code. So these 4 things are kind of like a springboard for the first 3 things. So you to do your monitoring and evaluation, you can't do that without doing your environmental review. Your curriculum work, you can do it anytime. Same goes with informing and involving. The poor green code, because it's number 7, often gets very neglected. So we like to see that a bit of effort has gone into it. So the first step that I'm going to go through with you is the Green Schools Committee. So you need to choose your committee depending on what works best for your school. So it's certainly not one size fits all. Never is any committee the exact same whenever we come in and look at the school. So just do what works best for you. So we want you to hold regular meetings, to record the minutes of your meeting, and then give pupils roles within the committee. So there's actually a question on the application form that asks you for the minutes of your meeting. So make sure you're documenting them. There's actually a template for this on the website, so that's easy enough to find. It's important that your committee is student-led, yet it's ran by the coordinator. So by students leading it, it gives them that sense of importance, that they feel like their voice is being heard despite it being ran by the teacher, that it is a real student-focused committee. We recommend including different members of staff, so not just teaching staff. These can be people like your caretaker, who's really important. They can really help instigate things getting done. People who work in canteens, your cleaners are really important in all of this. Even parents who are on parents' committees, anyone who wants to be involved, make them feel like they can be included. Your committee is representative of all year groups, so not just the 6th class because they're older and they can do stuff, but get people from all year groups because once one year group leaves the school, sure, who else is going to keep it up for you? And then we want to make sure these are all meeting regularly. Subcommittees can be a really fantastic way of doing 2 tasks at the same time. That's why I recommend if you are a teacher just doing it on your own and you're the only coordinator, sometimes having a teacher on the side to help you out with these things, not doing it on your own because it can be a huge task to do on your own. Helping you out with those subcommittees can be a really great way of getting stuff done. Delegating responsibilities of the notice board could be something that a whole class, that could be one class's job. Whoever's classroom is closest to the notice board, maybe that could be their job to do. Just these ways of feeling important and feeling part of the committee is really, really, it's key to kind of getting the whole school involved. And then awarding the best school, again, having this whole school inclusion is really important. Step number 2 is our environmental review. So this is whenever we identify and quantify the initial situation in our school through essential actions. So basically you're assessing it and you're trying to suss out what needs to be done, what are the big problems that you have in your school that you probably are aware of already, but then also this could be a time for you to figure out, oh God, I didn't realize that was a problem. This could be something we can achieve. And we do this through litter and waste checklists. We can do it through identifying our litter black spots and then mapping those black spots. We can do it through waste audits and assessing levels of awareness. So all of these things can be found in the handbook. So there's templates for all these on the handbook, but then also the templates for all these are also found on our website and they're under the resources page, which is really easy to find. So I'm going to go through each of these now. So the litter and waste checklist is an example of what your school can do for this step and a quick way to assess what's going on. So it helps get an initial understanding of what needs to be done in the school and can highlight issues within certain areas. So you can ask yourself, does your school have a litter problem? Yes or no? Does your school have a policy on litter? So if your school doesn't have one, maybe it's a really good idea to put one in place. So if someone does litter, you can say, no, this is against school policy. You can ask yourself, are some areas of school worse for litter in certain parts of the day? So maybe you can assess it in different ways like that. So asking yourself these questions that you might not have really thought to have asked before. Then we have our black spot map. Okay, so this is whenever you literally go out, pen and paper, you have a map of the school. It doesn't have to be a detailed map, just a rough idea where all the buildings are, and a big red pen. You go for a walk with your committee and you assess your grounds and see where all that litter is hiding. So this could be an opportunity where you might find it in, well, especially in primary schools, you find it in the yard. I usually think you find it around the school gate where parents usually collect children. If there's a boundary to the school, so the perimeter around the school where there might be a gate or there might be a hedge or where that kind of like there could be a blowing of litter going into it. If you're near a local shop and it happens that a lot of stuff gets blown into the school, that could be your other black spot as well. But identifying these, because as soon as you identify them, the sooner you can actually make some action about it. And the action could be things like putting up posters, putting in more bins, making sure people know what's happening when the litter goes too far. Do you have any waterways near you? Do you know if the water, all the litter is going to go into the water? So just kind of creating this awareness what's outside the school and what can be the consequences of littering around the school. Then we have our awareness surveys. So surveys are really useful to help acknowledge the gaps in people's knowledge. This can help navigate how you will improve people's understanding of the theme. It can be interesting to do this at the start. So if you're in year one and then do it again in year two and see people's understanding of litter and waste and other environmental issues has actually improved. I would also say maybe share this survey with members of staff. Maybe it could be interesting. Sometimes a lot of teachers who aren't the coordinators like you guys, this isn't really their thing, and they might not feel comfortable chatting to their students about it if they don't have a great deal of interest in it. But maybe acknowledging, look, if you have a few gaps in the knowledge, here's a bit of information, just giving those the little bit of help that they might need to help them encourage their own students to get it into their own classrooms as well. So it's a kind of school-wide survey you're hoping to do. Then on step three, we have our lovely action plan. So we have two objectives here whenever we're doing this. We want to increase levels of awareness and we also want to find practical improvements. So it's important to use the results of our environmental review to make the action plan because that's kind of the whole point of the environmental review. We really want to see quantifiable result or targets on this. So things maybe like we want to reduce litter by 60% by 2025. Something kind of like one big one and then do a lot of small ones underneath. So these need to be achievable goals. There's no point being too ambitious saying you want to reduce the general waste bin by 100%. Like, don't put anything silly down because your students are going to end up being really disheartened and you're going to lose motivation. Even as coordinators, you're going to lose motivation if nothing's getting done. So you want to be sticking down small achievable things along the way to help motivation on. There's nothing more satisfying than if you have a big to-do list and you can keep checking things off and it makes you like it keeps you motivated and keeps you wanting to stay on the topic and being a part of the project. So here's an example here of an action plan. I really do suggest having such a way that it's a check off system that you can do with it. Have things that are long-term goals as well, not just things that are all finished by the end of the 2 years. Let us know that this is something you're going to keep up for a long period of time. I'd also put some of the actions in there as like fun things to do. Maybe do like it could be a quiz day or that you go for a litter pick walk at least once a term. Just stuff that are easy and fun to look forward to, as well as like doing a bin audit and doing spot checks of the bins. Have that kind of balance between fun and kind of harder things to do as well. Some other examples of what you could be sticking on your action plan are introducing those battery bins that I said, carrying out bin audits, recording your findings of doing bin checks, composting your pencil pairings, and get everyone involved in making informative posters. So they can range, like I said, from really kind of practical things to more fun things like making posters. Then we're going to be doing our monitoring and evaluation. So we're hoping to delegate students to do monitoring. So things like our litter wardens are really fantastic in primary schools and they get a really great sense of responsibility and they feel like they're part of a wider circle of a bigger part of the school community. And the litter wardens don't just have to be people who are on the Green Schools Committee. If there's other students that you think might like to, have an additional job or they might need to get out of the classroom, give them the role of litter warden so they feel part of something, a bigger community. The monitoring and evaluation allows you to check the progress and it kind of indicates if there are areas for more change needed. So like if things aren't working, you can adapt to them. So by carrying out monitoring on your litter black spots, it can be really helpful to see if the way you're trying to reduce litter is actually working. So if you're monitoring it every week and you see nothing's helping, you clearly need to change your strategy. So by doing it all the time, helps you, it gives an indication whether or not it's working. You can encourage friendly competition among classrooms. That works really nicely, especially because students are in the one place all day long. So maybe one class could get Green Class of the Week, or they could get like a mini green flag they can stick on the door if their bins are particularly good that week, or if they've been, you find them doing a litter pick or something, a great initiative like that. Reward them whatever way you can. I also highly recommend displaying all your targets. If you've met them, whatever it is, stick it on the notice board. Like if in doubt, you've done something kind of good, stick it on the notice board. Just anything you've done, record everything and celebrate everything. Like take the time out to celebrate taking something off the action plan because it's a huge achievement. You're one step closer to, getting your green flag, which is really impressive. For the monitoring and evaluation, you're going to have to collect your waste invoices, and by collecting different things like your bin bills and your charts and things like that. I'm going to go through all those now in a second for the big question on the monitoring and evaluation section. Also, other things I have there is just displaying any graphs or results you have on that notice board. Like, let that notice board be the most up-to-date thing in the school. Just keep whamming all sorts of information on it. Let students know that's a place where you're going to have updated, regular information. The resource, our Let's Talk Rubbish resource, it's really, really helpful for this section, okay? And we have it in Irish as well, which is brilliant. And it also has a bit on it on the return scheme and how you can make that effective in your school. So for this section, right, we ask schools to weigh their bins both in first year and in second year, okay? Some schools really don't want to get behind it, but I think some schools really overcomplicate it. So what you can do is you just want to do the weighing of the bins for the same period of time in both years. So let's just say you want to do it in year one, you're going to do it from the 1st of November to the 5th of November. So just put out those dates. Those every day, those that week, you're going to weigh your green bin, your black bin, and the brown bin if you have a brown bin. Now you don't actually have to weigh it and stick it up on a weighing scale. So you can use this resource here. So if you have an 80-litre bin that you're constantly using every single day, that's roughly around 18 kilos. So you just stick that in for that box. You'd want to get in touch then with your bin provider, whoever picks up your bin, and ask them for how much that cost that week. So that's the next part of that question. So it could be however many euro, it could be like 100 quid, whatever it may be, you stick that down. And then you do it again in year two, and hopefully you'll find some kind of change. So you're going to do it for the same amount of time, you're going to do it for the 1st to the 5th of November 2025, the same amount of days, and you're going to put down the same information again. You might find that your recycling bin has decreased. Maybe you're finding that your school is using less paper, less plastic. Maybe you'll find that your brown bin has increased because now your school knows what goes into the correct bins. We're no longer putting food in the black bin, instead we're using a brown bin. Or else you might find your black bin has increased. Maybe your school has gotten bigger in the past year. Your school has had an amalgamation. New students have come in. You've joined in with somebody else. Stuff happens and that's okay. But once you can acknowledge what happened and you can understand why your bins are changing the way they are, that's what we want to see. The biggest thing we want to know is if there's been any behavioral change in your school and that your students know what bins do what and the importance of it going into each bin. That's the biggest takeaway from this theme. So once we see that through this question, we're very, very happy. Then we have step 5, which is our curriculum work. This is like a really easy way for you to make Green Schools achievable for all students, and it doesn't just have to be those on the Green Schools committee. So you can be doing it through music. So things like your green code could be done through adaptations of song lyrics into more litter and waste issues. You could do things like language, so you could do maybe a essay about, I don't know, litter and waste or recycling in your area. Talking about the history and how our recycling has changed over years and how we use more plastic now, kind of the boom of plastic. We can do other ones like science, find like scientific approach to problem solving. In maths, we do a huge amount of maths in terms of our graphs. We could do different types of surveys and calculating it, make it into some kind of graph or a chart to put on our lovely notice board. With geography, we're doing lots about our natural and human environments. We're looking at our mapping whenever we're mapping our black spots, talking about different geographical issues. And art is the most handy one of all because it's all just upcycling. You can upcycle anything that comes into the classroom, different posters to put around the bins, make your bins the most colourful place in the school, have loads of information around them. Different things like murals and fashion, different things like this is a great way to tie it into art. Okay, brilliant. And then these ones here are kind of more geared towards secondary school as well. For your informing and involving section of step 6, we're looking to see the whole school approach to it, not just those on the committee. So even if people in your local community know about green schools, the parents know about the green schools, any of the guardians like that, or just anyone in the wider school community, they have an understanding of what it is. If we were to come into the school and we were to ask your caretaker what's green schools, they could probably tell me about it. That's what the big key idea of this is. Some ways that you could share this information is through assemblies. You could do it through your notice board being up to date, reading books, doing class quizzes or school-wide quizzes, different games. Maybe your environmental awareness officer can come out and do a talk, different posters and displaying of art. Social media competitions. We run our own social media competitions here at Green Schools, but you could also run your own in school. You can write to local businesses, asking them to reduce waste in your area. Contact your local authorities, set up a newsletter. We do our own newsletter here at Green Schools. So we just had our first one come out this week. So make sure you're signed up for that so you can see all the new things that are coming up here in Green Schools and have your own as well. Involving yourself with Tidy Towns. Tidy Towns really love when young people are involved in it. They don't have too many young people. So to see that, that'll be a great community involvement. They'd love to have you. And I'm sure the kids would love to be involved as well. If there's any other community projects on, or National Spring Clean as well. So National Spring Clean is really, really fantastic. I spoke about it at the start. They run through the month of April. They do a community-wide cleanup in your area. They give you all the stuff first, so all the litter pickers, all the high-vis jackets, the gloves, all that kind of crack. They sign up, they fill up their spaces really, really quickly. So it might seem a bit ridiculous signing up to them now. We're in October now, but the sooner the better to guarantee yourself a place in it, if that seems like something you'd be interested in. Then we have our day of action. Okay, so we want to see the whole school involved in your action day. So it's really important that it's open to all year groups and it's not just for the committee. So some things that we could be doing for your day of action are a learning day. You could do an educational tour if you have a recycling centre near you, or if you have a water treatment centre, anything like that. I'm sure they'd love to have you in. Just kind of look out for any free tours that you might have near you. We've other virtual seminars and webinars as well. We've movie days and documentary days. Schools might want to get involved in community cleanups. So maybe as a school, you could go around for 20 minutes, every class gets out, and you just try and tackle an area of your school or your wider community. Tidy Towns, like I said, are always looking for volunteers. You could do a waste-free Wednesday, swap shops, upcycling events. Repair cafes are brilliant because it gets parents involved as well. Loads of different ideas like that. And if you're ever stuck for an idea, please get in touch with myself or your EAO. I will give you loads of inspiration for different things that you could do. And then here's some posters that some schools did last year for their action day, which I think is a really lovely way to get people motivated and excited about their action day. Then we have our green code as well. So we're hoping to demonstrate to the whole school your commitment to eco-friendly actions. So we're looking for a whole school involvement in this. So maybe you could run a competition. It can be a rap, a song, or a poem. It's kind of like a code of conduct for your Green Schools program. And we'd love to see this on your Green Schools notice board. So we're coming to the end now. So we have our application process, which I'm going to run through. So this is something that all you will be going through, especially those in your second year. So the Green Schools program is a 2-year project, as a lot of you know. So your school must be working on the theme since last year at the earliest if you're hoping to apply this year. Your school must have completed all 7 steps before you can apply for the flag. All questions on the application form must be filled out and they must reflect the work that you've done over these 7 steps. Your school will need to complete the application form and submit it before the deadline on the 3rd of December. So once you've submitted the application form, it'll be reviewed by Green Schools officers, and then from there we will send you out a recommendation letter. So this recommendation letter might ask you to forward us on any information that you've kind of missed out on. Like we will chase up if there is stuff missing, but most of the time, all of our application forms are absolutely perfect and a real pleasure to read. After the midterm, usually our assessment visits are carried out. So, like I was saying, this is done by your EAO, and this by no means is a test, nor is it an assessment or anything negative like that. It's really just an opportunity for you guys to show off for an hour. Like, it's really lovely, and it's somebody who really wants to listen and hear all about the fantastic things that you and your students have done. So, it's nothing to be worried about. It really is like a lovely part of our job that we get to come out and see what you're up to. And then after the visit, you'll receive the news if you will be achieving your flag, and you'll be invited to our awards, which are on in May. Then other things we can get involved with, like Joanne was saying at the start, just to go over them again. SEAI, they provide free workshops for primary and secondary school. These are free, which is really brilliant. They come out to you in the school. There's so much to learn from them. There's all energy, renewable energies, and just ways to be more energy conscious in your life. So they're really brilliant if you get an opportunity to have one of those in your school. There's also a National Spring Clean, like I was saying, and the Climate Ambassador program, which is also fantastic and has a program for primary school as well. Then we have our monthly newsletter. So there's loads of information and updates on that about all the themes. So please do sign up. Like I was saying, our first one is coming out this week. So do stay tuned so you can hear all about that. And then super stuff. Guys, thank you so much for listening to me. You're very good. If you have any questions about any of the things I was saying there, please let me know and shoot me an email about it. You're very good. Great. I'll stop recording there. I'll stop sharing. And then why is that? I haven't finished there.